She stood at his construction site, dressed in designer white, smiling like she had already won. He was covered in mud, carrying bricks, looking like just another worker struggling to survive. She pulled out an envelope and handed it to him without blinking. Divorce papers. Right there. In front of everyone. She had found someone better. Someone richer. Someone who could give her the life she always dreamed of. Or so she thought. What she didn't know was that every brick on that site belonged to him. Subscribe and like this video to watch how this story unfolds, and drop a comment telling us where you're watching from. The first time Daniel Owusu saw Priscilla Mensah, she was sitting outside the university admission office, crying quietly into a handkerchief, a crumpled rejection letter resting on her lap. He didn't know her. He had simply come to sort out a personal matter at the administration block. But something about the way she sat there, not loudly, not dramatically, just quietly devastated, made him stop. "What happened?" he asked. She looked up, embarrassed to be seen. "I got in," she said, almost whispering. "But I can't afford the fees." Daniel sat down beside her. Not because he had to, not because anyone was watching. He sat because that was the kind of man he was, the kind nobody ever fully saw. He paid her first-year fees that same afternoon. Cash, no contract, no conditions. He told her it was a loan if that made her feel better, but they both understood he would never collect it. What followed was 4 years of quiet, consistent support. He paid her hostel fees when her family couldn't. He bought her textbooks, sent her money for feeding, and showed up on her campus once a semester. Never flashy, always simple, always in the same worn boots and plain shirt that made him look like a man of very modest means. Priscilla was grateful, deeply grateful. And somewhere between the gratitude and the long phone calls and the way he listened to her without interrupting, she fell in love with him. In her final year, Daniel proposed, quietly, no crowd, no ring box that popped open dramatically. He simply asked her one evening, over a roadside meal of jollof rice and fried chicken, if she would be his wife. She said yes. They married at the court registry on a Tuesday morning. 2 witnesses, a white dress she bought herself, a simple band on her finger. He told her they would do the proper ceremony later, after she completed her postgraduate studies abroad. He had arranged everything. The scholarship application, the travel documents, the monthly upkeep. "Focus on becoming the best version of yourself," he told her at the airport. "I'll be here when you come back." She hugged him and cried a little, and told him she loved him. She meant it, at the time. What Priscilla did not know, what almost nobody knew, was that Daniel Owusu was not the man he appeared to be. He owned 11 construction companies operating across 4 countries. He had built housing estates, commercial complexes, and government infrastructure projects worth hundreds of millions. His name appeared in no tabloid, no Forbes list, no society page. He had deliberately kept it that way. He moved through the world quietly, working alongside his own laborers on site sometimes, eating at roadside stalls, driving unbranded vehicles. His philosophy was simple. A man who cannot be ordinary has no business being extraordinary. His inner circle was small and loyal. His closest aide, a sharp, well-dressed young man named Roland, was the only person he trusted with his deepest concerns. And as the months of Priscilla's time abroad stretched into the 2nd year, those concerns began to grow. Her calls became shorter. Her explanations for missed check-ins became more creative. And then the photographs began appearing, not sent to him, but found by Roland, who monitored what needed to be monitored. Priscilla at a rooftop dinner. Priscilla in someone's sports car. Priscilla laughing in ways Daniel had never quite seen her laugh. Daniel did not react with rage. He sat with the photographs for a long time, alone, in the quiet of his private office. Then he made a decision. "Roland," he said, "I want you to go to her." Roland understood immediately. This was not the first time Daniel had needed to know the truth about someone. "Show her everything," Daniel said. The cars, the trips, the lifestyle. See who she becomes. Roland flew out the following week. He made contact with Priscilla through a mutual connection, a simple introduction at a university social event. He arrived in a tailored suit, driving a rented Bentley, carrying a story about being a successful entrepreneur looking to invest in her field of study. Priscilla was polite at first, then curious, then available. Within 3 weeks, Roland was taking her to restaurants she had only seen in magazines. Designer bags appeared. Weekend trips to European cities. She wore things Daniel had never seen her wear, not because she couldn't before, but because she had never cared before, or so Daniel had believed. Roland reported back faithfully. Every dinner, every gift she accepted, every conversation where she spoke about her husband as though he were a chapter she was preparing to close. She asked me if I was serious about her, Roland told Daniel over the phone one evening. I told her I was. She didn't hesitate. Daniel was quiet for a very long time. Come home, he finally said. Priscilla returned 3 months later, her postgraduate degree in hand, her Louis Vuitton luggage stacked at the arrivals hall, her eyes carrying something colder than when she left. She had a plan. She had rehearsed it on the flight back. She would go to Daniel, return his ring quietly, hand him the papers she had already had prepared, and walk into what she believed was a better life with Roland, a man of means, ambition, and presence. She had already spoken to Roland. He had been warm on the phone, encouraging even. What she did not know was that Roland had stopped taking her calls 3 days before she landed. She did not know that Roland had already submitted his full report to Daniel. She did not know any of it. She arrived at the address she had been given, one of Daniel's active construction sites on the edge of the city. A large, impressive development rising against the afternoon sky. She had dressed carefully. White blazer, tailored trousers, heels that clicked against the dusty ground as she walked in. She found him quickly. He was easy to spot. Tall, in a dirty grey shirt, carrying bricks alongside 3 other workers, his face calm and focused as always. She felt a wave of something, not quite pity, more like confirmation. This was who she had married. A laborer, a man with mud on his hands and dust on his boots, while she had been sitting in European restaurants with a man who actually understood what success looked like. She walked up to him. He saw her coming and set down the bricks slowly. He straightened up and looked at her with those same steady eyes she had always found difficult to brick. Read. Priscilla, he said. She didn't waste time on pleasantries. She opened her bag and removed the envelope. She held it out to him. I think you know what this is, she said, her voice composed, almost rehearsed. It's over, Daniel. I've tried, but I can't keep pretending. I've moved on. I've met someone who can actually give me a life. I deserve more than this. She gestured vaguely at the site, at the dust, at him. A few of the nearby workers had paused. Some looked away. One older man shook his head slightly. Daniel took the envelope. He looked at it. He did not open it. He set it down carefully on a nearby stack of blocks, the way a man sets down something he has been expecting to receive for a long time. Who is he? Daniel asked quietly. That's not your concern anymore, Priscilla said. Roland? He asked. Something flickered across her face. How do you? Roland works for me. Priscilla, Daniel said. He has worked for me for 6 years. The click of her heels had stopped. The confidence in her posture began to shift. He drove my cars, Daniel continued, his voice never rising. He wore my watches. He took you to restaurants that I own shares in. Every bag he gave you was purchased on a company account that I sign off on. The envelope sat between them in the afternoon heat. The test wasn't about what you would take, Daniel said. It was about what you would give up without looking back. Priscilla's mouth opened and then closed. You gave up your integrity. You gave up your marriage. You gave up a man who paid for every year of the education you just came back waving around. without blinking, without asking him a single question, without even a phone call to say I'm struggling, or I'm tempted, or I need you. He picked up the envelope again and held it out to her. He said, "You came here to end something. I won't stop you." Her voice, when it finally came, was smaller than she intended. "Daniel, how much what are you?" "Everything on this site is mine," he said simply. "The site, the company, the land. Everything you're standing on." She looked around slowly, as though seeing the construction site for the first time. The workers, the scale of it, the branded hard hats she now noticed carried a logo she should have recognized. Roland had vanished. Her new life had never existed. And the man she had come to discard in front of witnesses, in the white blazer, with the rehearsed speech and the clicked heels, had built every wall around her. She had lost the billionaire she married. She had been deceived by an employee she mistook for a king, and she had walked into a construction site thinking she was ending a story, not realizing she was only revealing her own character. Daniel turned back to his work. He picked up the bricks again. Some men, when they are done with something, do not make a speech about it. They simply return to building, because they were never defined by what they lost, only by what they created.